What do you think?
I think we're dead meat. Real dead meat.
You dead meat!
Go ahead and laugh, you guys. If I ever find a little bastards that did this, they're dead meat.
Welcome to the Dead Meat Podcast, your horror safe haven. Stop, Molly, you. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm James, and that's Licky Ass Molly. Just Licky Molly.
She just keeps licking, not even just my hand, but like my sleeves, and it gets them all.
And she'll just lick the air if you move away. Yeah. I don't know why she does this. Why does the dog lick a lot? Tell us.
Why does our dog lick the air? Well, we're back from Silver Scream Con.
Yeah.
Basically it's Boston. We were in Danvers.
Just outside
Massachusetts. We forgot to both attempt to draw the East Coast from memory.
Oh, yeah. We got to do that.
I really want to do that because while we were in Massachusetts,
people kept saying they were from Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, and we would be like, oh, that's this far, right? And they're like, no. And
that's only like an hour away. So we realized neither of us know what the East Coast looks like.
It doesn't help me that I keep mixing up Massachusetts and Maryland.
Yeah.
They're both states that start with M-A.
I was never good at geography.
And both their biggest cities start with B. Baltimore, Boston. Don't look at me like that. It's not like I spent any fucking time on the East Coast.
Yeah, I've only been to the East Coast a couple times.
Yeah.
And it's Molly, you gotta stop.
You gotta stop. But it was great to see all those East Coast fans. So many of them were like, I never thought I'd get to meet you because you're only ever in LA. And we're like, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. We're trying to do more not LA conventions. So keep an eye out.
Maybe even some overseas, because then it'd be a free vacation for us.
We really want
or a free trip. Still be working the convention.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. But it's fun.
We'd have to make more time to actually go see stuff because I wanted to go to Salem and there was no time.
I know everyone's like, "Are you enjoying Boston and Salem?"
Like,
and we're
I'm
like,
enjoying
"I don't know,
the
man."
Convention center.
we landed, got bagged, driven to the hotel, and we never left. People were saying it was raining outside. I had no idea. Our life was inside that hotel ballroom. It was all in one. It was great though. Best convention we've ever been to.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like every night after the convention, with all the guests and stuff hanging out, felt like going to Red Robin or something after like a dance competition or like, I guess for you, musical theater, like after a show.
Yeah.
Just that energy.
I was up till 3 a.m., then 4:30 a.m. Like I was out there late.
I'm still catching up on sleep from that convention, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
But now we're going to talk about
kids killing each other.
We were going to do this the week before Silver Scream, but it was just too busy trying to prep for that convention. But we're going to do it now. The downside of that being that it's been how long?
A couple of weeks since we
watched this movie, although we had both seen it before.
Yeah, this wasn't our first time. And every time I watch this movie, I like it more.
I do too.
Because this is a movie, Battle Royale, came out in 2000. It is a Japanese movie. It's the original Death Game movie, I would say.
I think so.
As far as I know, it is when Hunger Games came out, people were like, yo, this is just Battle Royale.
Battle Royale, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Susie was like, nope, never read it or never saw it.
Come on, Suzanne.
Come on, Suzanne. Especially because the second Hunger Games, I think, is that the one with the clock?
I think it's the clock layout.
This Battle Royale also has danger zones where every hour, if you're in that area, your collar blows up.
Exploded.
Belko experiment, very similar to Battle Royale, even down to the collars with the exploding. Like all death games, it's impossible not to have some inspiration.
Alice in Borderland, which I watched a few episodes of.
Yeah, you didn't finish. You didn't like it. Squid Game, though.
But they have the explode the
okay.
neck pieces, yeah.
It's all that traumatizing ethical questions of like, what do you do when you're forced to kill or be killed? Only here, the thing about Battle Royale is it's a bunch of middle schoolers. That's the thing. Like Hunger Games is they're older kids generally. I think Rue was like a more like this age, but this is a class of middle school kids.
Yeah, I was reading that apparently there's only a few actors in this that were anywhere close to that
but
age.
The lead girl, She's 15. The actress was
I
15.
think
in
she's
this.
one of the only
Yeah,
ones.
she was one of the
Some
only
of the
ones who
other
was actually
kids,
15
like
or 16.
one of the quote unquote exchange students was like 25 or something.
I think both of them were.
Oh, really?
I think
They're-
yeah, the two. I think they were meant to be like high schoolers too, so it made
Yeah.
sense that they were older.
Yeah.
This movie was very controversial. It came out. It was based on a book, and the director is like a huge Japanese director.
Kinji Fukasaku.
Kinji Fukasaku, who was like 70 something when he made
He was
this.
older, yeah,
or
because
69.
I was reading about him, and he was a teenager during World War II.
That's right. He was a munitions
He
like
worked
loader.
in a factory, yeah.
Yeah, that got bombed, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And like half the other kids working there died.
Yeah, like I think it's in the Wikipedia for Battle Royale, but he
Yeah.
talks about like having to carry corpses of his friends and
Uh-huh.
realizing that the Japanese government was lying to them and became very mistrustful of adults
Mm-hmm.
and that had this anger towards adults, the older generation.
Yeah, adult and authority, and
which it's such a good mirror for this.
yeah,
I
because
think.
he read the book, and I believe his son wrote the screenplay. Kenta Fukasaku
Mm-hmm.
also directed the sequel that I've never seen. Because this
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen
director
the sequel.
started the sequel and then died at age 73, like right after
Mm-hmm.
starting to direct it. So his son took over. But I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's well regarded or not. But this for like, you wouldn't expect this movie to be made by like a director at the end of his career. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, you're right. This does feel like if you had me guess, I would have guessed this was a younger, edgy director.
Like Takashi Miike.
Takashi, yeah.
Who, like, I think he was probably in his early 30s when he started doing his stuff.
Yeah.
It's something like that. Like, this guy's like late 60s directing this very controversial
Violent.
film with a lot of things to say when it comes to, like,
Very stylized, too.
that's the thing, is it's very melodramatic. The very sweeping shots and zooms, and the music especially just feels like it's straight out of a, I don't know,
It's
some
kinda
grand epic
saccharine.
adventure. Yeah.
There's
it's
kind
orchestral.
of parallels. I would say this would be such a great double feature with House. Because House also is that director was also older when he made House, and he also was, I think, like a teenager during World War II. He has vivid memories of it, and that really informed that movie. And that movie also is kind of weird and soapy and has this like really saccharine score
Yeah.
that seems almost out of place sometimes. Granted, House is a lot more surreal than Battle Royale, and Battle Royale is pretty surreal, so that's saying something. But
Gets more surreal at the end, I'd say. It's very actiony. There's a lot of shooting and running and just like dramatic music.
sprays
and
of blood.
Sprays
and it
of
makes
yeah,
so much
squibs
sense
everywhere.
that Tarantino loves this movie. 'Cause of
Tarantino
course-
called it his favorite movie of the past 2 decades in like 2009. I think.
Yeah, like of course. That 100% tracks.
But the thing is, this movie comes out in 2000, I think, in Japan, and they do not send it to the United States. The I don't know how to pronounce it, Toei Company refused to sell the film to the United States because they were worried about getting sued.
Because this was right after Columbine, too.
It was, yes. So kids killing each other, not the most favorable topic to have in a film.
Right.
And this movie was unavailable in the United States until I think 2010. when Anchor Bay picked it up. So
I feel
for a
like I saw it before
well,
that
that's the
somehow.
thing.
How did I see it?
Savvy edgelord kids who knew how to use the internet, like us, would have downloaded this
Okay.
through P2P networks, because I
I
definitely
think
watched
I
this
might
in
have-
2005.
I think I got it from a friend.
Yeah, we downloaded it at a LAN party, and we all watched it on like, it was probably like a fucking 480, if that, pixel sized video.
This was such a word of mouth thing, I think.
It was.
Among
It was like, if you
people
heard
our
of
age.
Battle Royale,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fucked
Like,
up.
especially
Like,
if you
kids
were a
killing
little
each other.
nerd who liked movies. Yeah, we were all a buzz about this thing.
Yeah, so I definitely watched it before it was legally available in the United States.
Yeah.
Sounds like you did too. And I don't remember my impression of it as a kid. I know that like later when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is kind of cheesy. I felt, but like I said, every time I watch it, I like it more and more because I get it more. I understand it more.
I think when I first saw it, I was more horrified by just the premise of it. And I think on repeated viewings, I maybe notice more of the not silly elements. I mean, I guess some of it's kind of silly, but
A
just
little bit, yeah.
more of the over the top elements and how kind of cartoonish it is.
Yeah, because it's funny sometimes.
It is. It's funny.
Even though it's about 40 kids being forced to kill each other on an island because the country has been overrun with juvenile delinquency.
Well, you've got Takeshi Kitano, who
That's the thing.
He's definitely like in Japan, he's like a comedic actor.
Yeah.
So in this movie, I'm trying to think of like a comparable, like an American actor to maybe like a Bryan Cranston, where he was known for being kind of funny, and then Breaking Bad is this. I don't know. It's not the same, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like I know that you haven't seen Stitches, but I
not.
know that it kind of has a similar thing at play because it stars Ross Noble, who is a English stand-up comedian, but he is the killer clown in that movie.
Okay.
And Stitches is funny, but it's a very dry, mean sense of humor. Similar
yeah.
to here, how Takeshi he's funny in a very dark, dry way,
Yeah.
but he's also making these kids kill each other.
Because if you're watching this and thinking like, why does that guy look familiar?
Yeah, Takeshi Kitano.
Why does that teacher look familiar? If you were American and watched Most Extreme Elimination Challenge on Spike TV, or if you grew up in other parts of the world, particularly Japan, and watched Takeshi's Castle, yeah, this is Takeshi of Takeshi's Castle.
Is it Takeshi or Takeshi?
I don't know.
I think it's Takeshi.
Takeshi.
Yeah, maybe.
We're
gonna butcher these names.
One of us is pronouncing it wrong.
So apologies in advance.
But what is his name on MXC? It's either Vic Romano or Kenny Blankenship. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I only have Takeshi's Castle here.
Okay.
Which was what, like repurposed? Like the footage was
Yeah,
repurposed?
I guess Spike TV, they got all the like old Takeshi's Castle episodes and like re-edited them and dubbed over them, and I was obsessed with it when that was airing in the late 90s, early 2000s.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Oh, he's also known as Beat Takeshi.
Yeah.
I've heard that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Takeshi's Castle has a new version
Yes,
of it.
it's
that
a
we were
new-
just
it's a
watching last
reboot.
night. And Takeshi's kind of in it.
Yeah,
his
voice is in it. He voices this big like AI version of himself. It's very funny.
Yeah, it's just a big like hologram head.
It's streaming on Amazon Prime. Big recommend. It's so like if you just want something silly and happy to watch. I think each episode's about an hour, and it's just people doing these extremely difficult obstacle courses, and they're all very colorful, and everyone is just getting their ass kicked by these things and falling into like dirty water. And everyone's so happy to be there because it's a reboot of this beloved show.
Yeah.
It just seems like everyone's having a lot of fun.
I don't know if Takeshi's Castle would be struck. It's a Japanese
There's
production.
no way.
But we have confirmed that Battle Royale, that's why we're discussing it, is not struck.
Right.
We are the list of movies we can cover grows every week as we send a list to our contact at SAG, and they tell us which ones are fine. It's been growing, so got some more foreign films on there that we can discuss in a number of ways, whether it's on Patreon or on the Kill Count or on the podcast. So we've got options.
We also have talked about Battle Royale briefly before, years ago at this point, on the podcast in our Creepy Kids
right.
episodes. It's a two-parter. I think we talk about foreign films in the second part because we talk about the J-horror phenomenon of creepy kids like Samara / Sadako, The Grudge, and also why those movies in particular were the ones that Americans wanted to remake so badly, the ones with weird little kids in them. But we talk about, Molly, what are you doing?
She's sniffing.
She's sniffing. She just sounds like a little piggy.
Papo in the room.
Yeah. But we talked a little bit about what was going on in Japan during the 90s that kind of led to those films being made, or influenced those films rather. And the economic boom of the 80s in Japan, so that's like a tech boom, followed by the bust of the 90s.
The lost decade,
The
right?
lost decade, yeah. And there was this crazy increase in youth crimes, although I thought it was kind of morbidly funny that multiple articles that I found from around the same time were like, these statistics pale in comparison to the United States, but for the Japanese, this is very scary and different. It's like, Americans are used to it. Our kids are fucked up. But for Japan, this is very novel and frightening. So they're making movies and art about it because it's weird and scary. But yeah, there was this economic bust, and it was just a bunch of different factors coming to a head. It was like lack of employment opportunities, the kind of end result of this really intense school system that was just so kind of like end result focused on like basically just, you know, training students to be future employees.
Yeah.
And where that leaves all these kids who basically have tortured themselves in school to succeed, and then graduating and there's nothing for them. The kind of shift from like more of a communal life to the individual, like more nuclear family. You've got parents working. Of course, one of these articles blames video games because that's everyone was blaming video games in the 90s for all of their problems.
Yeah, I mean, and Battle Royale begins with setting the scenario of the nation's collapsed. It has 15% employment, so they passed the Millennium Education Reform Act, which is basically Hunger Games. It's going to take a class of kids and make them do this Battle Royale as a way of punishment and a deterrent for them to quit being a little shits.
Although in Battle Royale, it is not televised.
It is not. No, it happens. It takes place on this island.
Yeah, which is interesting because when they bring the class in the movie to the island, none of them know what the fuck's going on.
No, they think they're going on a field trip.
Right. And the teacher even asked them, like, are you familiar with this law? And none of them are, even though it seems like this thing that they should all be fucking terrified of.
They should definitely know about, but maybe it's because they don't go to school.
Well, that's
and
also
don't pay attention.
Kind of, you know, that's like, oh, kids don't pay attention to the news, or kids don't pay, you know, like that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's not even kids. People in general don't pay attention to shit that affects them directly.
Takeshi was their teacher.
Yes.
Until he walked into class one day and they wrote on the board, taking the day off because we want to. And then he left and got slashed by this little fucker named Nobu with a knife. And so he quit teaching. So they had a new teacher who objected to them being used as the Battle Royale, and that teacher got killed. That
also was part of this, like, kind of crime, this youth crime wave in the 90s, was students going after teachers.
Wow.
There was an article, I'll link all my sources in the description below, but one article was talking about how some students, I believe someone interviewed students who, for a book, it was a book called We Struck Our Teachers by Yuji Ikuye, who interviewed a bunch of students who, like, attacked their teachers at one point. All of them, he wrote, this is a direct quote, had been struck at one time or another by their teachers, and none of them regretted having struck teachers themselves. So it sounds like corporal punishment was very normal. And I think that's something that Takeshi's character complains about in this movie. He's like, you can't hit kids anymore.
Yeah.
They're also, it's interesting that he's kind of this older male figure. He seems kind of like he's like a sad guy.
He's a sad guy, and he has a fixation on what's her name, Nakagawa.
Oh yeah.
Who is the main female character who we follow? Who she is like a good student.
Yeah.
She showed up to class that day when everyone else took off, and he has a soft spot for her because of that.
Yeah.
But we watched the special edition, which is, I think, a director's cut.
No, it's more basketball.
More basketball and a few more scenes where, like, you hear the conversation between Takeshi and Nakagawa, and he obviously has a affection for her, and it's kind of ambiguous, I think, of whether it's more of a inappropriate.
I don't read it that way. It's definitely,
it's hard to say because there's cultural
inappropriate,
differences.
but I don't think it is sexual.
Because I think, isn't the last line of the version we watched something like, how can, or what's an adult supposed to say to a kid in this situation?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't read him as sexual. Maybe other people do, and I'm open to that interpretation because I'm not like.
I mean, he draw. I guess we're in the spoiler.
Well, yeah, he
zone
makes
now. That mural.
a mural of
Where-
all the dead students, like it's like little cartoon versions of all the students murdering each other, and then it's her in the middle, very
Yeah,
angelic, and she's the ultimate student because she's the only one who came to class.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting is in one of these articles, apparently there was a phenomenon called uncle hunting in the 90s.
Jesus,
Japanese youth gangs would single out lone men going home and pounce on them to steal his wallet, but also just for the thrill of it. And that reminded me a lot of
Yeah.
students showing up to just fucking slash at this teacher
Jesus.
and then leave.
It's like the knockout game.
Right? Yeah.
Fucking youths, man. I'm all for a little youth rebellion, but not if it's attacking people.
What's interesting is these instances, this rise in youth violence isn't totally unique to the 90s either, because apparently, and I'm flipping through my papers now, that peak of crime in the 90s was the second big one after a peak that occurred right after World War II. There was another peak in 1948 of youth crime.
crimes?
Yes,
Okay.
after the destitution of World War II. And what's interesting is, remember, we talked about the age of the director of this movie. He would have been 15 in 1945. So he's of the generation that at one point he was the kid where all the adults are looking at his generation and thinking like, these youths.
Yeah.
They're beyond saving and they're responsible for everything. You know, our future is at stake here because the kids are just not okay.
But that's the background in which this movie was released, the cultural context. So it's not just senseless violence. It's speaking to a then current issue in the country. So I can understand why they'd be hesitant to export it to other countries that maybe weren't familiar with what was going on there. But it's definitely not just violence for the sake of it. It's a really well-made movie, has a lot to say.
Yeah, and I'm sure for someone like this director, the violence in this movie pales in comparison to stuff he saw in real life.
Yeah.
That's often, especially filmmakers of a certain age and demographic, like filmmakers who maybe have seen war before or, I don't know, grew up in a certain place. Their movies are often just reflective of things that they've experienced.
Or maybe a way of processing it.
Yeah, or just a heightened version of that.
So yeah, the kids are gassed on a school bus. They're driven through like the cabin in the woods tunnel and come out to they're in a classroom
They
where
wake up in a classroom. What's cool is rewatching this because I'm working on the Danganronpa kill count, and Danganronpa would not exist if Battle Royale didn't exist.
Yep,
So many things that you like would not exist if this movie didn't exist. It's so cool. And yeah, just the entire death game genre. And Danganronpa, that is literally, we're getting gassed. He's waking up in a classroom. It's
just like that. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Do they have a little TV explanation of everything going on?
No, they have a robot bear
Oh, okay. Is that
come
guy?
do. Although he does show up on a little TV
Okay.
to wake them up every day and tell them when it's time to go to sleep
Yeah.
and to announce when a body's been found.
Well, Takeshi's doing all that.
Yeah.
He comes out and he rolls in a little TV like it's a substitute teacher.
Yeah, right. Normally it's very exciting when the rolling TV cart. Does that exist anymore? The rolling
No
TV
fucking
cart?
way. No.
'Cause they
I'm
don't
sure,
have the giant.
No, I'm sure every classroom just has a
flat screen
on the wall, and they just
I'm
plug
sorry
into
that
it. They don't have
kids
projectors.
today don't
I bet.
get the high of
maybe they have
hearing the
projectors.
wheels come down and then, oh my God, they're bringing in the TV.
Yeah, but this TV is the explainer of how they're all going to have to kill each other on an island.
Yes,
that is
with one of my favorite little characters in this movie.
She's fucking great.
The Battle Royale, the mascot almost. I want to dress as her for a convention so
such a
bad.
good
I've never
cosplay.
seen anyone do it, and I think it's such a good specific costume. She's got she's like a cutesy little military.
like short shorts.
Yeah, like an
little-
orange shirt that has like BR in that awful like it's not Joker Man font. It's like one of the other default Microsoft fonts that has like battleroyale.com.
Does she have like a little fanny pack?
Yeah,
And,
uh-huh.
yeah, like maybe pigtails or a little hat.
Very 2000s camo like page boy hat. And she's telling you all about the rules of Battle Royale, and she's super adorable.
In like the most cutesy way of like, oh, make sure that you're out of the danger zones when the hour's up, or else you'll die.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you don't want to be in a danger zone when this goes off. Like, it's so, and it's great because it's almost like a theme park video where
Yeah.
there's little pauses for the teacher to
React,
talk to
yeah.
the TV.
He's like, oh, and
It's
he's like clapping.
Dude, you know what it's like is it's like on that new Mickey's Runaway Railroad where Goofy is talking to the employee and is like, oh no, hey, you right there. Yes, Goofy, do you want to help my friends get on the train? And blah, blah. Okay, Goofy. It's like that. And
We
it's-
rode that ride twice, and both times the employees were fucking done with it. They're like, yes, Goofy.
I liked it.
Okay, Goofy.
Oh, okay, Goofy. Goofy's the funniest character to have a very low energy interaction with.
It's definitely the biggest contrast. But yeah, and that's part of the comedy is Takeshi she's like, hello, and he's like, hello.
Yeah, hello. But also it makes this whole sequence scarier because
does.
it's so cutesy.
It's very
and
unsettling.
matter of fact. And aren't you all lucky to be here
And the
today?
kids don't know what's going on, and they're confused and scared.
Yeah.
And eventually, Takeshi kills two of them right there in the classroom, including one of them is the guy who stabbed him, Nobu, who he shows demonstrates the collar exploding. So
Yep.
that kid's fucking neck blows up.
Yeah.
And that kid is the best friend of our main character, Shuya, who everyone wants to be or get with.
I mean,
He is
the main character of an anime.
Exactly.
He even looks like. Let me show you a picture right now of what the main characters in Danganronpa look like, and you'll be like, "Wow, that's him." They might as well have drawn him.
All the boys want to be his best friend. All the girls have crushes on him. Even in the midst of this death game, they're talking
Like, this
about
is
how
the
much
main character
how
of
cute he is.
Danganronpa.
Yeah.
At least the first one, and then there's like the other one who I think looks even more like him. Like, this is just him.
Yeah, he's just
They have the same hairstyle. It's all the girls want him. All the boys want to be him. It's fun. He's sweet.
He's part of the basketball team? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course he is.
All of them are basketball boys or little cheerleaders there for it. They keep getting flashbacks to that to show them. I don't know when that took place. I don't know if they only come to school to ball.
To just play basketball.
Yeah. Or if that was like prior to things going off a cliff, but...
Hey, I want to talk to you about our sponsor this week, Fume. Fume is a nifty little diffusive device that you can breathe all kinds of delicious scents and flavors through. We've been sponsored by Fume since their devices were made of wood, but now they've really upgraded and they have these cool metal mouthpieces that feel really nice to use. I personally don't really have any bad habits that something like Fume may help me to break, but I find the overall experience to be genuinely pleasant anyways. I've got my Fume with me right now, actually. It's super fun to fidget with. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a magnet and clicky bits in there that are really satisfying to move around. I also have the white cranberry flavor now, and it tastes just like fall. You know how sometimes you smell a scented candle and you kind of just want to eat it? I don't know if that's just me, but this is basically the closest you're gonna get to that. If you've got a hand-to-mouth habit you're itching to break, Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Head to tryfume.com and use code DEADMEAT to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use code DEADMEAT to save an additional 10% off your order today.
Yeah, the rules are explained. Everyone has to kill each other within 3 days. There has to be one person left. If there's more than one after 3 days, everyone dies. There are danger zones that will be announced. They'll announce who died every 6 or 12 hours, I
Like
think.
Hunger Games, they get
It's
the
very Hunger
announcements.
Games-esque. Also, everyone will get a pack, which will include some rations, some water, and a random weapon or object. Some people get a gun. Other people get a frying pan.
Yeah, or a paper fan.
A paper fan.
My favorite is when the little Battle Royale girl pulls an axe out of the bag she's demonstrating. She's like, ooh, someone very lucky got this one.
Yeah,
She
and you're
puts
like,
it-
oh, that's a that's a lucky one because that feels like a pretty close range weapon. But then you see,
You know what's interesting?
Someone gets pot lid. I think Shuya gets a pot lid.
I found this article from the Washington Post from 1981, which is interesting because that's before.
Well before this.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it shows that this kind of youth violence was steadily increasing even before the economic crash. Talking about specifically schoolroom violence against teachers, and I thought this was interesting. Speaking of these random kind of weapons that these kids are given, this is a quote: "Other incidents have been more violent, involving 14 and 15-year-old youths who have turned on teachers with steel pipes, bamboo swords, fists, belts, and toy model pistols." I don't know, just this random assortment of things makes me feel like that's part of why each of these kids gets a random thing, because these kids are all using such a weird variety of weapons to attack their teachers with. And so, okay, here, we're going to give that right back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are nunchucks. There is an Uzi. That's pretty unfair. Also, an Uzi with unlimited ammo. That guy just fucking gets to fire
I think that's
at will.
everyone's biggest problem with it. When I was reading
really?
Reddit threads about this,
I didn't
everyone's
have a
like,
chance to.
this guy has unlimited ammo.
Fucking sprays and prays.
It's-
And he's one of the 2 transfer students. So there are 2 older kids sitting in the back looking scary. One of them's got blonde hair and the other's got a headband.
The other one looks like Rambo.
Yeah, and so like these kids are like, who the fuck are they? And Takeshi is like, oh yeah, I bet you noticed them too. They're experienced, so have fun with that. They have very different strategies as they're leaving when each number is called, which is a great sequence because you get a little preview of all the kids who are involved, and all of them are imbuing so much character into the role that they're playing in how they approach and leave the room. Like some of them like cry and wave goodbye to their friends. Others like run and stumble as they're trying to get the bag because they're so nervous. Others kind of like steal themselves, take the bag and run off. And these 2, I think one of them like fucking sprints, grabs the bag, leaves, comes back and is like, this isn't my bag. That was supposed to be for the person you killed. So give me this bag. And then the other is a very lackadaisical, like slow walk, very nonchalantly takes their bag and leaves.
Yeah.
So a lot of character work just in this little segment where you get to know all the kids who are going to get killed.
Yeah, the 2 girls saying goodbye to each other is really heartbreaking. The 2 best friends. You don't really see much of them in the movie, and I think it's to such great effect because you see them here, and then the only other time you see them is they've both killed themselves later.
Yes. The movie does a good use of flashbacks of like just little flashes to remind you what these characters were doing because there's so many. I think it's a class of 40 and they do have a little countdown. Like there's literally a kill count on screen of like number 1
helpful.
character killed. There's their name. It's like text on screen.
Yeah.
In addition to Takeshi doing these announcements where he's like, over the night, 6 people were killed and naming them. Again, very Hunger Games. But yeah, a lot of these kids kill themselves right away. They just don't want to do this.
Yeah.
2 of them jump off a cliff. 2 of them hang themselves.
Yeah.
They are choosing to do that rather than try to kill their fellow kids. Others think that they can form peace. Like 2 girls take a bullhorn and are like, come meet with us. We'll figure out a plan to get out of there. They end up just getting gunned down. Shuya and Nakagawa, who are our main couple, she kind of likes him. I don't know if he likes her because his best friend Nobu, who got killed, he liked her.
Yeah.
So he agreed to like look over her for Nobu's sake. He kind of has like a dream sequence where he sees Nobu saying that. It's a great dream sequence where a basketball is bouncing and it's bouncing in the court and then it bounces higher than it just bounced. And I was like, that's not physics. And then I realized it was played in reverse.
Yeah.
Because it bounces all the way up
It's
to
cool.
like the rafters.
They must have the other actor who's sitting there moving backwards to pull that illusion off because you don't notice the footage is backwards at first. It's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, good use of like just a little sprinkling in of like, oh yeah, this was that character, just so it has more weight. Like you watch all these kids, you watch their numbers get called and them leaving, and then when Shuya's number gets called, you follow him out, and then we're no longer in the classroom.
Yeah,
we're out in the
case
battlefield.
you weren't sure still who the main character
Exactly.
was.
He's our transition out into. He's the first time we're actually completely outside of this classroom and on this island where they're gonna have to be killing each other. And like right away, one guy comes out with a crossbow and accidentally shoots someone because they're still not sure what's going on. But again, having a death happen right there makes it
Oh,
real
is
right
he the
away.
he's very bumbling. I can't think of another way to describe him.
Yeah, I think Akamatsu is his name.
Not the kind of guy you want wielding a crossbow.
No, he's the bigger guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's kind of fumbling with it and accidentally shoots someone else and gets shot. There's a girl named Mitsuko run around.
Mitsuko. I love Mitsuko.
She's so fucking scary.
She's very scary.
Yeah.
She's a Tarantino villainess if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like she's using her sex appeal too, because
Oh,
this shows a shot of
I love this the aftermath where you quickly understand what happened, where she must have seduced two male students and killed them both very gruesomely because, wow, there's blood everywhere.
Yeah, she is one of the most ruthless characters, but you see later on
She
in
pretends to be friends with
Yeah.
other girls to steal their weapons and kill
just
them.
slit their throats with sickles and stealing their tasers and shit.
Yeah.
I think it's only in the edition that we watched that
flashback,
flashback
yeah.
where it shows her as a little kid who her mom like sold to some guy for like
Drug money, I think.
Drug money,
I
yeah.
mean, she seems like she is zonked out on pills or something, and
but before this guy can like he's like telling her to take off her clothes and stuff, and she's like five or six,
a little
like
girl, and this guy
child.
is like he has like a Barbie doll, and it's like, look, the Barbie doll doesn't have clothes on, but it's disgusting,
fucking gross.
But before anything can happen, this little girl just pushes him down the stairs and kills him.
Yeah, breaks his neck.
And
so,
I
like,
love that flashback of hers.
Yeah,
It's very Audition. She similarly has a backstory in that realm. And it's like she also is this kind of terrifying girl boss of a killer whose way you do not want to fall into. And uses her beauty and sexuality to get her way.
it just shows how Mitsuko was exposed to kill or be killed right off the bat as a kid. And then there are also more flashbacks during the basketball game where you see how she's on the outside socially. Like you would think that she would be like a popular
girl.
hot
No.
girl. No, she's for whatever reason removed. So that explains why she's running around
She's really interesting.
willing to kill people and survive. Yeah.
It's interesting how like not only is it just the straightforward nature of the death game, but when you're reading all these old articles about Japan's economy and how the youth are dealing with the different ups and downs of the economy, suicide rates also spike.
Yeah.
And the amount of suicide you see in this movie, I think it's pretty analogous to, younger kids just not being able to deal, whether it's getting into the job market and not being able to succeed, or just being in school and it's too much. They're not allowed to have a life outside of study, and maybe there's corporal punishment involved, or even just mental emotional abuse. And then literally kill or be killed. It's in the literal sense, but also you think of the way we talk about the economy, the job market. So many, hustle business guys talk about kill or be killed like it's a good thing,
Yeah. Yeah. So Kiriyama is the blonde transfer student who gets the Uzi. So he's like the scary guy. He is out there to murder. He has the highest kill
He's
count
so
for
scary.
sure.
He's like out of a Takashi Miike movie.
Because at one point, a bunch of the other kids like fucking kidnap him and they take him to a bluff and they're like, "Where'd you come from, man? Like, what's your deal?" He just
grabs
gets their
one of their
gun
guns
and
and
mows
kills-
them all down.
It's really horrifying, especially when, you've got the one girl student who's there with them and she's pleading for her life, and he just...
Oh, yeah. He doesn't.
It seems
give a
like
fuck.
that where you're like, yeah, I can see why Americans maybe wouldn't have wanted to watch this movie in the wake of Columbine.
For sure. Yeah. I'm not going to necessarily judge that decision.
No.
Because, that was back when it was not as regular.
I love this transfer student character, though. It's poetic that him and Mitsuko have a showdown because they're the two most sociopathic
They
characters.
do. He ends up killing her.
He kills her,
right?
yeah, which
that's
is like
near the end.
In another life, those two could have been a really great,
You shipping them?
scary couple. Yeah, they could have been like crime bosses together.
The other student with the headband, Kawada, he ends up linking up with Shuya and Nakagawa. He does kill a student who like attacks him,
Yeah.
so he's not like a pacifist by any means, but when he sees their weapons, when he sees that they have a pot lid and binoculars and that they are harmless, he does not kill them. He decides to let them live and eventually links up with them and they become a little team.
After he does tell them not to trust anyone.
He does say that. He says, don't trust anyone, but
This guy's a great character.
he's also great. He's very mysterious, and then later you get to learn more about him. What I found interesting is that they have these collars that'll blow up. There is a team of 3 dudes who are like the tech guys. They decide they're gonna hack into this system.
The hacker guys.
And yeah, I think it's Sugimura. I can't read my handwriting, but it's 3 guys led by one of them who are deciding they're gonna hack into the system. They're gonna shut it all down from the inside. And I found it interesting that it was a revelation when they're like, oh, they're listening to us. These are also microphones. Whereas nowadays, it's like, yeah, obviously they're listening to you. They're probably watching you too, but they're not. Like, they don't have cameras all over the island because this is 1999.
They have, just tracking devices.
Yeah, they only see them as little beeps on a map through the tracking devices, but they do find out, oh, God, there are microphones in here too, so they can hear us. So they like try to cover that up while he gives them a shopping list of all the fertilizer and other stuff.
And I love that the 2 guys he sends out to get all that are like, what are we getting all this crap for? And it's like, can you not tell? You're going to make a giant fucking bomb. That's so much fertilizer. Is it one of them who the thing he's given is the tracker? Or is that a different guy?
That's another guy whose like role I don't fully understand because
he's kind of an enigma.
He's almost set up as like another main character, but then he disappears for a while because when Shuya gets like shot or attacked and jumps off the cliff into the water, it's this guy who like rescues him, takes him to the lighthouse, but then he disappears and he's just kind of gone for a while. But yeah, his weapon is a tracking device that lets him see where all the other students are.
Arguably the best thing.
Because you can hide. You know, you can
keep track of when dots disappear, go there and see if they dropped a weapon or something.
Yeah. And like get the jump on people to try to get a better weapon because people are obviously taking the weapons of other people as they die. But as a tracking device, I feel like that's the best one, man.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Because you can't. They said that you can't take off the collars or else they'll blow up.
Yeah.
Which is also Belko Experiment and other games like this. You can't tamper with that. But I didn't fully understand his role. And
he's the one who he is friends with the girl who's a runner.
Oh, okay.
So he's riding his bike next to this girl who
like
I think she's
her?
into him.
She's in like a Kill Bill jumpsuit, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, we're just gonna keep bringing it.
It's very Tarantino-esque.
Yeah.
That's Chigusa is the writer. Or the runner, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Oh, and Sugimura is the tracking device. He's not the hacker guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. They're friends. I think she's into him. But then there's this other guy who's into her, and this guy's creepy as fuck.
Oh, yeah. Horny boy Nita, I wrote.
Yeah.
He, like, finds her on the island and tries to, like, basically...
He threatens her with rape.
Yeah.
Because I think... Does he have a gun?
I forget what he has. He might.
Yeah.
But she stabs him in the dick.
Yeah.
It's
pretty
kills
brutal.
Him
she
bad,
stabs him right in the dick.
But I think she gets killed by Mitsuko.
She does get killed by Mitsuko,
yeah.
Yeah. I think she dies next to tracking device guy.
Oh, that's
like
right.
He's holding her.
Yeah, he finds her.
Yeah. So around the midpoint of the movie, I'm just calling him Rambo, our transfer
Kawada,
student, Rambo Kawada. Yeah, he basically makes camp in this little like it's not a house, it's more like a shed, like greenhouse type situation. And our 2 main characters, Shuya and Nakagawa find him, and that's where we get a little bit more backstory on his character Ish. He's very mysterious because he makes them a bunch of food and they're like, wow, how'd you make all this food? And he says, oh, my dad was a chef. But then later he also says his dad was a fisherman and also
no, it's he like fixes up a wound and was like, my dad was a doctor.
That's
and
right.
then at the end when they're on the boat, they're like, how do you know how to drive this thing? He's like, my dad was a fisherman. I love it.
He's a total enigma. It's
great. And by then he like says it with a smile, like knowing.
Yeah. And this is when he tells them that he had been in this game before.
He's
in
a previous
Hunger
winner.
Games like twist. He is a previous winner brought back to compete again.
Yeah, from 3 years ago, and it had come down to him and his girlfriend.
Yes.
And I think she
she
Kill herself.
she betrays him.
Oh, and so he had to kill her in order to win because she was going to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah. So I think his girlfriend ends up betraying him, and just out of self-defense, he kills her. But then as she's dying in his arms, she smiles and she says, "Thank you," right?
Yeah, and so his whole thing is like, I came back here to kill whoever's running this and to figure out what her smile meant.
Yeah, like what?
I hate motivation like that. Figure out what her smile meant. What? What?
I think it's just
I hate it.
I mean, they kind of realized at the end what it would have meant, and I think it's just like she realized as she's dying that like he fully trusted her.
Sure.
If she got away with it and didn't get herself shot, she could have, like, that maybe could have allowed her to win. Is someone having that complete trust in her and maybe just realizing that at the end of her, like, that's even possible? I don't know.
Yeah. I would totally be okay with him being like, and it tortures me that I don't know what her smile's about. But he says it's why he came back to figure out what her... I'm like, you're not going to find clues. Like, you're not going to be digging up on the island and be like, oh, that's why she was smiling.
I think it's more just getting to that place maybe emotionally or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. That's fine. The blonde guy, Kiriyama, who with the Uzi, turns out he signed up willingly.
Yeah, he just
this.
wanted to go
He just
and do this.
volunteered to do this. So that shows how fucked up he is. He finds them and he kills another guy and then cuts that guy's head off, puts a grenade in that guy's mouth,
Throws
and
it in.
tosses it into the cabin. And that fucks him up good. That kind of separates Shuya from Nakagawa and Kawada, who they make a plan because Kawada's smart. He's like, if we get separated, we'll go meet elsewhere. But they do, in fact, get separated because of Kiriyama, who is shooting just nonstop.
Just unlimited. He
Unlimited
found
ammo, baby.
a cheat. He did like unlimited ammo mode or something.
Definitely.
Just,
He typed that in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Also, Kawada's part of his backstory is that his uncle was like an old-time fighter. He said he's still fighting in some corner of the world and that his uncle is going to blow up Parliament. Oh, no, that's not Kawada. That's the
not
hacker
Kawada.
guy.
Yeah, which is so, like, wait, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it was like, I was
that's
with
why
you until the Parliament? What?
It's why he knows how to make bombs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's such a weird little character detail.
Yeah, and I
love.
wonder if that's referencing a specific political
Maybe that
thing
I'm
that
just
happened
not
in Japan's
familiar
past that we
with.
just don't know. Because, yeah, blowing up Parliament usually doesn't succeed. And, yeah,
Yeah, historically, never usually works out.
for whatever reason.
Yeah. Shui ends up at the lighthouse, which is its own little set piece that's great.
It is. It was very memorable. I think it was one of the few things that I remembered from my previous viewings of this. I was like, there's something at a lighthouse,
Yeah,
right?
it's just this series of tragic misunderstandings where it's a group of girls who are taking shelter in the lighthouse, and
No
it seems
shit.
great.
Three of them are named Yuki, Yuko, and Yuka. No shit.
So they're all hanging out in there. It seems
They're like cooking for each other. They're playing
fun.
house.
Like if
yeah.
you're gonna be anywhere in this shit show, the lighthouse seems like a fun little like slumber party they got going on. But you know, they bring a boy in there, and one of the girls really doesn't trust him,
Because
and
she saw him accidentally kill
Yes,
this guy when they like
that's
rolled
right.
down a hill and the axe wound up in his head.
So
she
she
thinks
doesn't
he's a
trust
killer.
him. So I think it's so funny. Our captions call it pasta. It's like ramen or something.
Oh, yeah.
But our very American captions are like, pasta's ready, girl.
I was expecting some spaghetti. It was not that.
Oh no, I think they do call it spaghetti. It's like they call it like pasta and spaghetti, and like it's clearly not. It's so funny. But anyway, she brings him some poisoned spaghetti.
Well, she poisons the meal that they're going to bring up to him. Yuko does.
Yeah, but it
that's
doesn't-
when another girl walks
It
in and is
doesn't
like,
make it to him.
I'm so hungry. Yum, yum, yum.
Bleh,
Bleh.
just throws up blood. Then it's like a Reservoir Dogs fucking like
Exactly.
we're all
All the
pointing. No.
Tarantino.
This is such a Tarantino set piece, especially all of them screaming at each other and
Yeah,
the delivery.
pointing guns, and then all of them get killed except for the girl who poisoned the thing
Yeah.
because she like hid under the table. So all of them are shooting
all
each other.
kill each
They all
other.
fall down dead, and then she like I think it's an overhead shot where she like creeps out from underneath the table.
Yeah,
and
she throws herself off.
Well, she goes and lets Shuya out, and with like my bad, and then throws herself off the lighthouse.
Yeah.
another suicide in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very memorable moment.
He finds his way back to our main characters, right? Or Kawada and
Yeah, there's also a line after all the girls shot each other from Yuko, who was the one who instigated it with the poison. And when she lets Shuya out, she says, "I forgot how much I liked all of them," which is a very sad thing of like, oh, they were my friends and now they're all dead. And then she kills herself.
yeah. I love all the little emotional moments in this because they really stand out because the movie is just so over the top that when you get little beats like that, they hit really hard, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's what makes something like Danganronpa work too, because all of it is so kind of silly and dumb and over the top. But every once in a while, there's a thing that happens. There's an emotional beat that like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
It hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, after a while, Kiriyama, like we said, he finds Mitsuko, kills her after that backstory. The hackers succeed in hacking in.
Yeah, they shut down the big computer brain of the island pretty much.
Yeah, and so all the defense forces are freaking out.
They lost
Takeshi
track of all the students.
Takeshi keeps his cool and just reboots it. You know, so just unplug it, plug it back in. You know, wait like 30 seconds at least.
Yeah,
and plug
yeah.
it back in. But the hackers, Kiriyama ends up finding where the hackers are, and right as they're loading that bomb up to go blow shit up, and he shoots them all down. That bomb explodes.
Yeah.
It's a big explosion. The hackers are dead.
Yep.
So now it's just down to the 4, yeah. The 2 exchange students and then Shuya and Nakagawa.
Mm-hmm. I forget, how do they kill the scary exchange
So
student?
the explosion kind of blinds him, and
Yeah.
then him and Kawada have a shootout. He hits Kawada, doesn't kill him right away, and Kawada shoots his necklace, and it
that's
blows
right.
up, and his head blows up. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Good
right.
way for the big villain to go out.
And
Or, I
then
guess secondary villain.
Kawada turns on our main characters and he says, "I told you not to trust anyone." And because this whole time he's been telling them, "I have a plan to get us out of here. I can't say what it is. I'll tell you when the time's right."
Mm-hmm.
And this is the plan to get out, is he's gonna just kill both of them and he wins and he leaves. But it's then revealed. So what? It looks like he shoots both of them.
It sounds like,
Or at
he
least
shoots
it
both of them.
sounds, importantly to the people in the command center, it sounds like he shoots both of them.
And they hear him say, "Fuck you guys."
And their neck pieces go offline.
Yes.
So to everyone in charge, it looks like there's just one dot left. And it's
yeah, and the
Kawada.
troops are like, "Should we go check?" And Takeshi's very sad. His favorite girl didn't win.
And he's like, "No, just whatever.
Just go home. I'll handle this.
Yeah.
So all the troops leave, and he's
Because
just
I
waiting.
think he suspects, too, that maybe they're still alive.
I think so, because Kawada shows up at the base where only Takeshi is now, and Takeshi like says, "You hacked it, didn't you?" And so this was a little confusing to me. I read that apparently Kawada had hacked the system prior to the game even beginning.
It confused me too.
Yeah.
So I guess like the group of hackers aren't actually the ones who hacked.
I guess
I don't
not.
know.
Yeah. I can't remember how it plays out in the movie, if there is willful misdirection for the audience to make us believe that the hackers did it, or if it just happens and we assume that the hackers did it. But in any case, it was Kawada who fucked with the system and also found a way to make the necklaces go offline for Shuya and Nakagawa. So they are still alive.
Yep.
They show up. So it's the 3 of them and Takeshi, and he reveals his wonderful mural
His
of
painting.
his favorite girl.
Yep.
And he wants her to kill him because we saw him have a phone call earlier from
It's
his
with
daughter.
his daughter, yeah.
Who fucking hates him. He's estranged from his wife. This is a sad man.
yeah.
He's got nothing left. And he tells Nakagawa to kill him, and she doesn't. And so he pulls out a gun, and is it Shuya or Kawada who does shoot him?
Shoots him. I forget.
Yeah, but he gets shot, and then another darkly funny moment. After he's shot and lying there dying, he reveals it was a squirt gun he pulled out. It's like water that he has. And then he dies, but then his phone goes off, and he just gets up off the floor and goes and answers it, and it's his daughter. And I think he's like, "I'm not coming home."
Yeah,
and then
he
dies.
actually dies. Yeah.
It's a very surreal moment that I don't fully know what to make of, but I like it.
Yeah. So then, the 3 of them escape off the island, and Kawada even says, it's going to be really hard from here on out. And I get the end is it's our two.
Well, he dies.
Oh, yeah, that's
boat.
right. Kawada dies. Yeah.
From his wounds.
His injuries. And that's when he says he realizes he understood what her smile was about. And
finding people you could trust.
Yeah. And so he dies. And then.
At the end, I'm glad I found a true friend.
Yeah. Then the two leads just, I guess, live a life incognito forever because they're super wanted.
Yeah.
We know, like, there's even a little graphic that comes up on screen of their wanted posters.
Wanted for murder. Wanted on suspicion of murder. They grabbed the knife that was used to slash Takeshi back in the day that kicked this whole thing off because she kept it. And I think they're trying to get out of the country maybe because they're headed to a railway station or maybe just go to a more remote part of Japan, but probably going to be hard for them. I wonder if it's followed up in the sequel or if it's just an entirely different group of people.
That's interesting. I didn't think of that, like what the sequel would even be.
I have no idea. Yeah. Battle Royale.
That's Battle Royale.
It's a fucking classic. If you haven't watched it, you definitely should.
It's really good. And it was interesting reading Reddit threads about this movie, and so many people, I think maybe who are watching it now, like more recently, were saying that they were surprised that this was such a classic because the tone was so weird.
It is weird.
But that's why it's so good.
Yeah.
This movie's not nearly as iconic if it's not so over the top.
Yeah, and it's not like it was a big hit here. It was successful in Japan.
Yeah.
I saw that I saw that they said, wow, this movie's making money that usually only cartoons make. And I was like, oh, their box office is way different than ours, huh?
It's real different.
Because I think when it came out, it was only topped of the year maybe by a Pokemon movie and a what's his name? Miyazaki movie, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So 2 animated films.
That's funny. Yeah, it's different.
I mean, I guess here, animated films are also amongst the highest grossing films.
Yeah.
It's just the phrasing of it was funny.
That phrasing is very, very funny, but definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, and just know that, like, I remember when Hunger Games came out, and I had already known about Battle Royale, and I was like, oh, so it's Battle Royale. And I remember being shocked at how many people didn't know Battle Royale, and of course they didn't. Like, I was a fucking weirdo.
We were movie nerds.
Yeah.
Of course we knew Battle Royale. And
they're not going to know this Japanese movie that was banned in the U.S. for a decade.
Because Hunger Games came out when we were in college, right?
Yeah, I think Hunger Games came out when this still would have been banned maybe, or right after it got like U.S. distribution. And it's not like it opened wide. It was just like, here, art houses, now you can play this and we can sell the DVD here. But yeah, I remember that influenced my enjoyment of Hunger Games because I was like, I've seen this before. I still liked Hunger Games.
No, it's interesting because like Hunger Games, I was listening to the audiobook of the first one recently because I like to listen to audiobooks of things I've already read while I'm trying to sleep because I don't have to pay attention. And like it's like the same kind of setup, but they're talking about totally different things. Yeah. Because Hunger Games is so class based.
Yeah.
And that's
not really here.
That's not what this is doing, really.
Not at
This
all.
is generational stuff. Yeah.
But I'm glad we could talk about it. I'm glad that it was one of the growing list of unstruck films that we can discuss. A lot, like I said, a lot of foreign movies that we can get into. And if you want to hear more thoughts on movies, subscribe to the Patreon because we do stuff on that, like commentary tracks.
Yeah, and also now we're doing a once-a-month bonus podcast episode that is about whatever. It's not horror. It's just about whatever we feel like doing.
Yep.
And we played a fun game this
that I
month
ran.
that James ran.
And that Gressel participated. It was me running a game for Chelsea and Gressel. So if you want that, head over to the Patreon and get the special Patreon feed podcast. It was a game involving 90s alternative rock bands. So
it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And I had a great time doing it. And that'll be a monthly thing where it's just I know people have said they like the Hangout podcasts where we just talk about whatever. So that's what this is. Every month for patrons.
Yeah.
So check that out.
Yeah.
Social media, Dead Meat James on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
And I'm Carebeck, CREVECC on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want merch, deadmeatstore.com. Sorry, Molly
Seasonal
just looks
stuff
so cute.
just arrived. Some Halloween stuff. Little Halloween bag, a Lucy pin.
Yeah.
And Lucy, our lovely cat who disappeared from the podcast room because of this little coconut baby.
Yeah.
But They're getting better.
They're getting there.
It's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Sometimes Lucy lets Molly smell her butt, and
Yeah.
that's progress.
Those are good days. Thanks, Gresso, for recording this as always, and thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah, till next time. This has been.
I'm James.
Oh yeah,
This is Molly.
that's Molly. I'm Chelsea, and this has been. This has been a Demi podcast.